Did you ever wonder how the beauty products your mother trusted could end up being banned? These beauty products sat on vanity tables and bathroom shelves, promising glamour and self-care without anyone questioning their safety. And if the items we relied on carried dangers we never imagined, what else have we overlooked? Hexachlorophene antibacterial soaps were once found in nearly every bathroom across the country, stacked beside sinks and shower ledges like trusted guardians of cleanliness. In the 1970s, people believed these soaps were the ultimate protection against germs, and parents used them on newborns without hesitation. The creamy lather felt luxurious, the scent was clean and medicinal, and families trusted that something sold so widely must be completely safe. Hospitals even bathed infants in hexachlorophene solutions, believing they were giving babies the healthiest start. But nobody knew that this powerful antibacterial agent could absorb through the skin and accumulate in the body. When researchers discovered that high concentrations caused brain damage in infants, the revelation sent shockwaves through the medical community. Families who had lathered their children daily suddenly faced an unimaginable truth. Regulators banned the product from over-the-counter sales almost immediately. What was once considered the cleanest soap in America became a symbol of how easily trusted products can carry hidden dangers. Mercury-based skin lightening creams were one of the most coveted beauty secrets of the 1970s, promising women a fairer, more even complexion with just a few applications. These creams sat in elegant jars on vanity tables, their smooth white formulas applied nightly with hopeful fingers and trusting hearts. Women believed they were investing in beauty, following routines passed down through generations and endorsed by glamorous advertisements. The results seemed miraculous at first, fading dark spots and creating a porcelain smoothness that felt like transformation. But mercury does not simply sit on the surface of the skin. It absorbs slowly, building up in kidneys, brain tissue, and nervous systems until the damage becomes impossible to ignore. Some women developed tremors, memory loss, and kidney failure before anyone connected their beauty routine to the poison accumulating inside them. When regulators finally banned these creams, the shock was immense. Something so elegant, so promising, had been quietly destroying the very people who trusted it most. Today, these jars serve as haunting reminders that beauty should never come at the cost of health. Chloroform-laced hair tonics were considered essential grooming products in the 1970s, sitting proudly on barbershop shelves and bathroom counters in homes across the nation. Men and women rubbed these tonics into their scalps, believing the cooling sensation meant the product was working, penetrating deep to strengthen roots and add shine. The smell was sharp, but not unpleasant, a chemical sweetness that people associated with cleanliness and care. Barbers applied it generously after every haircut, massaging it into scalps while customers relaxed in leather chairs. What people did not know was that chloroform was already recognized in medical circles as a dangerous substance capable of causing liver damage and even cancer with prolonged exposure. Every application released vapors that drifted into lungs and lingered in poorly ventilated rooms. By the time regulators connected the chemical to serious health consequences, countless people had already absorbed years of exposure. The bans arrived swiftly once the evidence became undeniable. Those bottles that once represented sophistication now stand as chilling examples of how dangerous substances once hid behind promises of beauty. Lead acetate hair dyes were the quiet miracle of the 1970s for anyone desperate to cover gray without the harsh look of traditional dyes. These products worked gradually, darkening hair over several applications until the silver strands disappeared into rich, natural-looking color. People loved the subtlety, the way the transformation happened so slowly that nobody could pinpoint exactly when the gray vanished. The creams and liquids were applied with bare hands, massaged into roots, and left to work their magic while families went about their daily routines. What nobody realized was that lead acetate absorbed directly through the scalp with every single application. Lead does not flush out of the body easily. It builds up in bones, blood, and organs, causing damage that often goes unnoticed until symptoms become severe. Children who hugged parents with freshly treated hair absorbed lead residue without anyone suspecting danger. When scientists finally proved the connection between these dyes and lead poisoning, the products were pulled from shelves immediately. The promise of youthful hair had come with a cost nobody ever imagined. Formaldehyde-based nail hardeners were the secret weapon of every woman who dreamed of long, strong, perfectly polished nails in the 1970s. These little bottles promised to transform soft, brittle nails into gleaming shields capable of withstanding anything daily life could throw at them. Women painted them on faithfully, layer after layer, watching their nails grow longer and harder with each application. The smell was sharp and chemical, but people assumed that was simply the scent of something powerful doing its job. Manicurists used these products in salons, and mothers passed them along to daughters as essential beauty tools. What nobody understood was that formaldehyde fumes did not stay confined to the nail surface. They drifted into the air, absorbed into lungs, and irritated skin with every exposure. Some women developed allergic reactions so severe their nails separated from their nail beds entirely. When researchers confirmed formaldehyde as a known carcinogen, the bans followed quickly. Those little bottles that once seemed like magic became symbols of an era that trusted chemicals far more than it should have. Coal tar shampoos at unregulated strengths were the go-to solution for anyone battling stubborn dandruff or itchy scalp conditions in the 1970s. These thick, dark liquids smelled strongly of industry and medicine, a scent people associated with serious treatment rather than danger. Families kept bottles in shower caddies, using them weekly or even daily without ever questioning the ingredients inside. The relief was real and the results were noticeable, which made people trust these products even more. Pharmacies stocked them openly, and doctors recommended them without hesitation. But coal tar is a complex mixture containing compounds now known to cause cancer with prolonged exposure. People rub these shampoos into their scalps, let them sit for minutes at a time, and rinse them down drains that carried the residue into water systems. By the time regulators understood the full scope of the risk, countless families had already used these products for years. Today, coal tar products are heavily restricted and require strict labeling. The shampoos that once promised clean, healthy scalps now remind us how easily medicine and danger can share the same bottle. Aerosol hairsprays with chlorofluorocarbons were the finishing touch of every carefully crafted hairstyle in the 1970s, holding curls, waves, and elaborate updos firmly in place for hours. Women stood in bathrooms surrounded by clouds of fine mist, pressing down on nozzles until their hair felt stiff and perfectly sculpted. The hiss of the can became synonymous with getting ready for work, dates, and special occasions. People trusted these sprays completely because they worked, delivering hold that no liquid product could match. What nobody considered was where those propellant gases went after they left the can. Chlorofluorocarbons drifted upward through the atmosphere, slowly destroying the ozone layer that protects life on Earth from harmful radiation. Scientists eventually connected everyday beauty routines to a global environmental crisis. The bans came as part of an international effort to save the ozone layer, and the hairspray industry scrambled to reformulate. Those cans that once represented glamour now symbolize one of the most dramatic examples of how personal choices can have planetary consequences. Thimerosal preserved mascara was considered the height of modern cosmetic science in the 1970s, keeping eye makeup fresh and bacteria-free for months after opening. Women applied it daily, brushing dark pigment onto lashes just millimeters from their eyeballs, trusting that anything sold for such delicate use must be completely safe. The preservative worked brilliantly, preventing the growth of microbes that could cause serious eye infections. Makeup counters displayed these products proudly, and advertisements emphasized their purity and safety. But thimerosal contains mercury, and mercury does not belong anywhere near human tissue, especially not the delicate membranes surrounding the eyes. Small amounts absorbed with each application, building up over months and years of faithful use. Some women developed sensitivities, irritation, and mysterious symptoms they never connected to their makeup routine. When regulators finally acknowledged the dangers of mercury in cosmetics, thimerosal was banned from eye products entirely. The mascaras that once promised beauty and safety became cautionary tales about trusting labels too completely. Phenylmercuric acetate in eye cosmetics was one of those invisible ingredients that consumers never thought to question during the 1970s. It appeared in eyeliners, eyeshadows, and various products designed to enhance the most expressive and delicate part of the face. Manufacturers added it as a preservative, and regulators allowed it because the science of the era did not yet fully grasp how dangerous even small amounts of mercury compounds could be. Women applied these products morning after morning, layering colors and lines across skin so thin and absorbent that penetration was almost guaranteed. The elegance of a perfectly lined eye came with a hidden cost that accumulated silently inside the body. Mercury built up in tissues, affecting kidneys, nerves, and brain function in ways that often went undiagnosed for years. When modern research finally revealed the truth about mercury absorption through regular cosmetic use, the bans were immediate and absolute. Those glamorous compacts and elegant pencils that once symbolized sophistication became stark warnings about how easily beauty can mask danger. Talc-based baby powders with asbestos contamination were trusted by parents across the nation during the 1970s, sprinkled generously onto infants after every bath and diaper change. The soft white powder felt like pure comfort, absorbing moisture and leaving skin silky smooth. Mothers dusted it into creases and folds, believing they were protecting their babies from rashes and irritation. The scent became synonymous with clean, healthy infants, and no nursery felt complete without a container sitting beside the changing table. What parents never imagined was that some talc deposits sat naturally beside asbestos deposits in the earth, and mining operations did not always separate the two. Microscopic asbestos fibers mixed invisibly with the powder, drifting into the air with every shake of the container. Babies inhaled them. Parents inhaled them. The particles lodged deep in lung tissue where they remained for decades. When researchers finally connected contaminated talc to cancer, the devastation was immense. The product that symbolized gentle care had been quietly carrying one of the most dangerous substances known to science. Vinyl chloride aerosol propellants powered countless beauty sprays during the 1970s, from hairsprays to deodorants to perfume mists that women used every single day. The propellant worked invisibly, pushing fine droplets into the air with a satisfying hiss that signaled the product was working. Nobody questioned what the propellant itself might be doing because attention focused entirely on what was being sprayed. Bathrooms filled with fine chemical mists morning after morning, and lungs absorbed vinyl chloride with every breath. The gas seemed harmless because it was invisible, odorless, and left no trace once it dissipated. Factory workers exposed to high concentrations had already begun developing liver cancers, but that information had not yet reached consumers spraying products at home. When scientists finally linked vinyl chloride to angiosarcoma, a rare and deadly liver cancer, the reaction was immediate. Regulators banned it from consumer products, and manufacturers scrambled to reformulate everything from hair care to personal hygiene. Those aerosol cans that once seemed so convenient became symbols of an era when invisible dangers hid inside the most ordinary routines. Bitheanol antibacterial soaps were marketed as powerful germ fighters during the 1970s, promising cleaner skin and better hygiene than ordinary soap could deliver. Families purchased them for kitchens, bathrooms, and anywhere cleanliness mattered most. The antibacterial agent worked impressively, killing bacteria on contact and leaving skin feeling squeaky clean. People trusted the label, believing that anything sold as antibacterial must be safer and more effective than regular alternatives. What nobody anticipated was how bitheanol reacted with sunlight on exposed skin. Some users developed severe photosensitivity reactions, breaking out in painful rashes and blisters after spending even brief moments outdoors. The connection between the soap and the sun damage took time to establish because the reactions seemed random and unexplainable at first. Dermatologists eventually traced the problem back to residue left on skin after washing. When regulators confirmed the dangers, bitheanol was banned from consumer soaps entirely. The product that promised cleaner, healthier skin ended up causing painful disfigurement for people who simply wanted to wash their hands and step outside. Zirconium antiperspirant sprays were considered a breakthrough in personal hygiene during the 1970s, blocking sweat glands more effectively than any product before them. People sprayed them under their arms every morning, confident they would stay dry and fresh throughout even the hottest days. The mist felt cool against the skin, and the protection lasted impressively long, which made these products incredibly popular. Advertisements showed confident men and women raising their arms without fear of embarrassment, and consumers trusted those promises completely. What nobody considered was what happened when that fine aerosol mist drifted into the lungs. Zirconium particles lodged deep in lung tissue, triggering the formation of granulomas, small inflammatory nodules that interfered with normal breathing. Doctors began noticing unusual lung conditions in otherwise healthy patients, and the pattern eventually pointed back to aerosol antiperspirants. Regulators banned zirconium from spray products once the danger became undeniable. The convenience of staying dry had come with a hidden cost that nobody saw until the damage was already done. Hormone-laced anti-aging creams promised women the fountain of youth during the 1970s, using estrogen and other hormones to smooth wrinkles and restore youthful firmness to aging skin. These creams sat in elegant jars on vanity tables, applied nightly by women who believed science had finally conquered the visible signs of time. The results seemed genuinely impressive at first, with skin appearing plumper and more radiant after just a few weeks of faithful use. Advertisements featured glamorous older women who looked decades younger, and consumers trusted that anything so widely sold must be perfectly safe. But hormones do not stay confined to the skin. They absorb into the bloodstream, affecting reproductive systems, thyroid function, and countless other biological processes. Some women experienced irregular menstrual cycles, mood changes, and symptoms they never connected to their nightly beauty ritual. When researchers uncovered the widespread endocrine disruption caused by these creams, regulators intervened swiftly. The promise of eternal youth had been masking dangers that affected the entire body. Methylene chloride cuticle removers were the quick fix every nail enthusiast relied on during the 1970s, dissolving tough dead skin around nails in seconds flat. Women dabbed the liquid carefully onto cuticles, watched it work its magic, and wiped away the softened tissue with cotton balls or towels. The process felt efficient and professional, like bringing a high-end salon treatment into the comfort of home. The chemical smell was strong, sharp, and unmistakably industrial, but people assumed that meant the product was powerful and effective. Manicurists used it constantly throughout their long workdays, breathing in concentrated fumes hour after hour without adequate ventilation or protective equipment. What nobody understood was that methylene chloride converts to carbon monoxide inside the human body, effectively poisoning users from within. Some people collapsed after prolonged exposure in small bathrooms with closed doors and windows. When regulators connected the chemical to fatal incidents, the bans came swiftly. Those little bottles that promised perfect nails had been silently threatening the lives of everyone who used them. Bubble bath formulas with harsh detergents turned ordinary baths into frothy wonderlands during the 1970s, filling tubs with mountains of scented foam that children adored. Parents poured generous capfuls under running water, watching bubbles rise higher and higher while kids splashed with delight. The more foam the bottle produced, the better the product seemed, and manufacturers competed to create the most dramatic suds possible. Families used these products nightly, believing that bubbles meant cleanliness and fun combined perfectly. But the detergents that created all those beautiful bubbles were far too harsh for delicate tissues. Girls especially suffered from urinary tract infections caused by irritation from prolonged exposure to soapy water. Pediatricians began noticing patterns, connecting recurring infections to nightly bubble baths that disrupted the natural balance of sensitive areas. When the medical community raised alarms, manufacturers were forced to reformulate their products with gentler ingredients. Those magical mountains of bubbles had been hiding irritation and infection behind every joyful bath. Paraphenylenediamine hair dyes at dangerous concentration levels gave women the rich, lasting color they craved during the 1970s, transforming gray or faded hair into vibrant shades that lasted for weeks. Salons and home kits alike relied on this powerful chemical to create colors that truly penetrated the hair shaft and refused to wash away. Women sat patiently while the dye developed, enduring the tingling sensation that everyone assumed meant the product was doing its job effectively. The results were undeniably impressive, with colors so deep and lustrous that treated hair looked better than natural. But paraphenylenediamine is a potent allergen that can sensitize the immune system with repeated exposure over time. Some women developed reactions so severe that their scalps blistered, their faces swelled dramatically, and their airways tightened dangerously. A few tragic cases proved fatal when allergic reactions spiraled completely out of control. Regulators eventually restricted concentration levels and required patch testing warnings on all packaging. The beautiful color that women trusted came with risks that could prove deadly. Selenium sulfide shampoos in dangerous concentrations were prescribed and sold freely during the 1970s for stubborn cases of dandruff, seborrhea, and other scalp conditions that resisted ordinary treatment. These thick, medicinal liquids smelled strongly of chemicals and left hair feeling stripped but undeniably clean. People followed instructions to leave the shampoo on for several minutes, allowing the active ingredient time to work its way into the scalp. Doctors recommended them frequently, trusting that anything sold in pharmacies must be safe when used as directed. But selenium is toxic in high doses, and the concentrations allowed during that era exceeded what modern science considers safe. The chemical absorbed through the scalp, building up in the body with repeated use. Some people experienced hair loss, skin discoloration, and neurological symptoms that puzzled doctors until the connection became clear. When researchers established the risks of systemic selenium toxicity, regulators lowered permissible concentrations dramatically. The powerful treatment that promised relief had been poisoning people through their scalps. Methyl methacrylate nail products revolutionized artificial nails during the 1970s, creating strong, glossy extensions that lasted far longer than anything before them. Nail technicians sculpted beautiful nails using this potent liquid monomer, building layers that hardened into seemingly indestructible results that clients adored. Women loved how their nails looked, strong and elegant in ways their natural nails could never achieve on their own. Salons offered the service everywhere, and the demand for longer, more glamorous nails grew rapidly throughout the decade. But methyl methacrylate bonds too aggressively to natural nail beds, creating attachments so strong that removal often tears away layers of real nail tissue. Allergic reactions caused swelling, pain, and permanent damage to the delicate tissue beneath the nail plate. Some women lost their natural nails entirely, left with disfigured nail beds that never fully recovered. When regulators recognized the pattern of injuries, they banned methyl methacrylate from nail products. The beautiful extensions that women adored had been destroying the very nails they were meant to enhance. Nitrosamines in contaminated cosmetics were never intentionally added to beauty products during the 1970s, but they formed invisibly when certain common ingredients reacted with each other over time. These cancer-causing compounds appeared in shampoos, lotions, foundations, and countless other products that people use daily without any reason for concern. The contamination was unintentional but widespread, affecting products from major brands that consumers trusted completely. Nobody tested for nitrosamines because nobody expected them to be there in the first place. Women applied these products to their faces, rubbed them into their scalps, and massaged them across their entire bodies, absorbing carcinogens through their skin with every single use. When laboratory testing finally revealed the hidden contamination, the cosmetics industry faced a serious reckoning. Regulators demanded reformulation to prevent nitrosamine formation and required testing to ensure products remained safe. The invisible impurity that nobody knew existed had been quietly accumulating in bodies across the nation for years. Diethanolamine shampoos and lotions created the rich, luxurious lather that consumers loved during the 1970s, turning every shower into a foamy, satisfying experience. The ingredient made products feel premium and effective, spreading smoothly across skin and hair with a creamy texture that cheaper alternatives could not match. Women squeezed generous amounts into their palms, working the formula through their hair or across their bodies without any concern about what made it feel so good. Manufacturers used diethanolamine widely because consumers associated thick lather with cleanliness and quality. But diethanolamine reacts with other common cosmetic ingredients to form nitrosamines, the same cancer-causing compounds that plagued so many other products of the era. Every shower introduced more contamination, and every bottle sat on shelves, slowly developing dangerous byproducts. When researchers connected the dots between this seemingly innocent ingredient and carcinogen formation, regulators restricted its use severely. The lather that once felt like a luxury became a reminder that even the most pleasant sensations can hide serious consequences beneath the surface. Acetone nail polish removers without safety warnings were sold everywhere during the 1970s, sitting on drugstore shelves and vanity tables as casually as hand lotion or lipstick. Women dipped cotton balls into the pungent liquid and wiped away old polish without opening windows, turning on fans, or taking any precautions at all. The sharp chemical smell filled bathrooms and bedrooms, lingering in the air long after the polish was gone and the bottles were capped. People assumed the odor was simply part of the process, never imagining it could cause real harm to their health. But acetone vapor irritates lungs, dries skin painfully, and can cause dizziness, nausea, or headaches with prolonged exposure in poorly ventilated spaces. Nail technicians working in crowded salons suffered the worst effects, breathing concentrated fumes throughout their entire workdays without adequate protection. When health agencies finally required warning labels and ventilation guidelines, many consumers were shocked to learn how carelessly they had been exposing themselves. The simple act of changing nail color had carried risks nobody ever thought to mention. Ammoniated mercury face creams were treasured beauty secrets during the 1970s, promising to fade freckles, lighten dark spots, and create the flawless complexion that every magazine advertisement seemed to demand. Women applied these creams nightly, massaging the smooth white formula into their skin with hopeful anticipation and complete trust. The results came gradually, with spots fading over weeks of faithful application that became part of bedtime routines across the country. Dermatologists sometimes recommended them, and pharmacies stocked them without hesitation or warning. But ammoniated mercury absorbed directly through the skin, building up silently in kidneys, liver, and brain tissue with every single application over months and years. Some women developed tremors, mood changes, and cognitive difficulties that no doctor could explain at the time. The connection between their beauty routine and their declining health remained invisible until researchers traced the damage back to mercury poisoning. When regulators finally banned these creams, the revelation was devastating. The product that promised perfect skin had been quietly poisoning the women who trusted it most. Hydroquinone skin bleaching products at high doses were widely available during the 1970s, promising dramatic lightening results that women eagerly pursued in their quest for beauty. These creams and lotions sat on vanity tables, applied daily by women who wanted to fade dark spots or achieve the lighter complexions that beauty standards of the era seemed to demand. The active ingredient worked by suppressing melanin production, and higher concentrations delivered faster, more visible results that seemed miraculous at first. Women used them liberally, believing that more product meant better outcomes and faster transformation. But hydroquinone at high doses causes a condition called ochronosis, where skin actually darkens permanently and develops a bluish-black discoloration that becomes impossible to reverse. Some women destroyed the very skin they were trying to improve, left with disfigurement that lasted a lifetime. When regulators finally restricted concentrations and added warnings, the damage to countless women was already done. The promise of lighter skin had delivered permanent darkness instead. Radium-infused beauty products promised women a literal glow during the early 20th century, and some formulas lingered on shelves well into the 1970s in certain markets around the world. These creams, powders, and tonics claimed to energize skin, restore youthful vitality, and create a radiance that ordinary cosmetics could not match. The word radium sounded scientific and modern, convincing consumers that they were purchasing cutting-edge beauty technology. Women applied these products faithfully to their faces, necks, and hands, believing the tingling sensation meant the formula was working its powerful magic. But radium is radioactive, and every application delivered dangerous radiation directly to delicate facial tissue. Some women developed burns, lesions, and cancers that doctors struggled to understand until the connection became undeniable. By the time regulators removed these products entirely from all markets, the damage had already been done to women who simply wanted to look their best. The glow they sought came with a devastating price that no advertisement ever dared to mention. Radithor Energy Water was the drink that literally glowed with danger. Sold as a miracle tonic, it contained radium. Yes, the same radioactive element used in luminous paint and nuclear experiments. In the early part of the 20th century, radioactive meant powerful, not deadly. Companies bottled the promise of vitality and sold it to anyone who wanted to feel younger, stronger, and more alive. By the 1950s, it still lingered on dusty pharmacy shelves and in small-town grocery stores, the last echo of a deadly fad. People swore it cured fatigue, aches, and even impotence. What it actually did was slowly destroy the bones and organs of those who drank it. The most infamous case was that of Eben Byers, a wealthy industrialist who consumed bottles daily until his jaw literally disintegrated. The scandal forced regulators to finally ban all radioactive health products, but Radithor's legend endured. It became the ghost story of the grocery aisle, a reminder of what happens when trust and ignorance collide. In an age obsessed with miracle cures, it stands as one of history's most chilling examples of how far people will go to feel better, even as it kills them from the inside out. Few things smell as comforting as butter-flavored popcorn fresh from the microwave. But behind that warm, golden aroma was a secret chemical called diacetyl. In the early 2000s, factory workers who inhaled the buttery fumes began developing severe lung conditions later called popcorn lung. The discovery shocked the public. People started looking at their microwaves differently, realizing that even a bag of popcorn could hold a hidden danger. Families who once filled their homes with that smell of movie night joy now hesitated, torn between comfort and caution. Something so innocent, something made for movie nights and family gatherings, could actually hurt the people who made it. The lawsuits came fast, and major brands were forced to abandon diacetyl. The new formulas never quite smelled the same. Yet even now, the old scent still lives in memory, rich, smooth, and dangerously nostalgic. It reminds us that comfort sometimes comes with a cost, and that the sweetest smells can carry stories we were never meant to breathe in. Carbon tetrachloride fire extinguishers were once seen as the future of household safety, a sleek and modern solution to kitchen flare-ups and small electrical fires. Grandparents kept them under sinks, in garages, and near stoves, believing they were armed with the best protection money could buy. When flames appeared, people were told to spray this magical liquid right onto the fire, watching it smother flames in seconds. But nobody knew what happened when that liquid touched heat. It released vapors that could stop lungs from breathing and turn a simple fire into a deadly cloud. Families who rushed to put out fires ended up inhaling something far more dangerous than the flames themselves, unaware that each breath carried a hidden risk. Today, it is terrifying to think how many families stood inches away from a toxic haze without understanding the danger. Those extinguishers remain one of the most unsettling reminders that sometimes the things meant to save us carry their own kind of threat, one hidden behind promises of safety and progress. Crystal Pepsi was the drink that tried to reinvent soda and accidentally confused everyone. In the early 1990s, Pepsi wanted to symbolize purity and transparency, so they made a cola with no color at all. It looked like sparkling water but tasted like Pepsi, and that contradiction fascinated people. People stared at it on shelves, unsure if it was a prank or a promise, and yet curiosity always won. For a brief moment, it felt like drinking the future, a crystal-clear revolution in a brown-colored world. Even opening the bottle had a sense of wonder, like unveiling a secret that was hiding in plain sight. For a short while, it became a phenomenon. Commercials promised a clean, futuristic world in a clear bottle. But the illusion shattered quickly. Many consumers thought it was diet soda, while others complained that it tasted off, even though the formula was almost identical. Mislabeling, marketing confusion, and failed freshness tests in certain regions sealed its fate. It vanished almost as quickly as it appeared. Still, for those who remember it, Crystal Pepsi was unforgettable, not for its flavor, but for its ambition. It was a reminder that sometimes, when you try too hard to make something clear, you end up losing what made it real. Aerosol cheese in steel cans was the kind of futuristic food that only the 1950s could have dreamed up. It was creamy, convenient, and somehow scientific. All the things that modern America was obsessed with at the time. Housewives marveled at how it could be sprayed directly onto crackers, celery sticks, or even straight into the mouth of a giggling child. It felt like progress you could taste. No knife, no cleanup, no effort. The secret behind the spray was pressure from chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, the same chemicals used in aerosol hairspray and refrigeration. They made the cheese foam perfectly, airy and light, and gave it that signature hiss when you pressed the nozzle. Nobody thought twice about it until scientists in the 1970s revealed that CFCs were eating away at the ozone layer, literally tearing a hole in the atmosphere. What had once been the pride of kitchen technology suddenly became an environmental villain. The cheese itself wasn't the problem. It was what made it spray that turned it into a global issue. Companies scrambled to replace the formula, switching to safer propellants, but the reputation stuck. The phrase "cheese in a can" went from novelty to punchline. For those who lived through its rise, it will always taste like nostalgia and a little bit of guilt. Copper arsenate weed killers were once a common tool for grandparents who prided themselves on tidy lawns and well-kept gardens. These powders and sprays were marketed as powerful solutions that destroyed stubborn weeds without harming surrounding plants. Homeowners used them along sidewalks, flower beds, and backyards, believing they had discovered the secret to a perfectly maintained outdoor space. Back then, people trusted whatever the store shelves offered, confident that anything sold publicly must be safe. But copper arsenate contains real arsenic, a toxic heavy metal capable of lingering in soil for decades. As families worked in their yards, small clouds of dust drifted into the air, onto hands, or into the dirt where children later played. Pets walked through treated sections unknowingly, and rain spread the residue even farther than people expected. When researchers documented the extent of soil contamination and health risks, regulators banned the use of these weed killers for residential areas. Many families were stunned to learn that their once prized lawns had absorbed hazardous chemicals from years of enthusiastic yard work. Even today, some older properties still test positive for lingering arsenic near garden beds or fence lines. These weed killers serve as a sobering reminder that quick fixes in landscaping can sometimes carry long-lasting consequences that future generations inherit without knowing. There was a time when buying imported cheese felt like sophistication itself. In the 1970s, raw milk cheeses, creamy, tangy, and full of character, became the mark of a true gourmet. They were made by hand, aged in cool cellars, and packed with rich, earthy flavor that pasteurized versions could never match. But the same bacteria that gave them depth also brought danger. Listeria, Salmonella, and E. coli lurked in the unpasteurized milk, invisible threats wrapped in golden wax. The Food and Drug Administration drew a line. Any cheese made from raw milk must be aged at least 60 days before sale to allow harmful bacteria to die off. That single rule shut the door on countless beloved imports. Cheeses from France, Italy, and Switzerland vanished from American markets, replaced by safer, blander versions. For many, it felt like losing a link to old-world culture, a trade of flavor for security. Even today, food lovers debate the rule, whether it protects us or just keeps us from tasting something truly real. But for those who remember that first bite of brie so soft it nearly melted on the tongue, the ban marked more than a change in law. It marked the end of an era when danger could still taste divine. Asbestos oven mitts and hot pads were marketed as indestructible. Advertisements promised they could handle any heat without ever catching fire. Housewives trusted them, pulling casseroles and roasts straight from the oven with confidence. It was the post-war era of atomic age optimism, when scientific materials meant progress and danger felt impossible. The word asbestos was said with pride. It sounded technical, modern, and safe. Nobody imagined that the same mineral used in insulation and factories could turn a kitchen into a slow-motion health hazard. The secret was asbestos, a mineral that could resist flames but released deadly fibers every time it was touched. Each squeeze, each fold, released invisible dust into the air. Over time, those fibers lodged deep in the lungs, leading to mesothelioma and other fatal illnesses decades later. The danger was silent and patient, hiding behind the promise of safety. By the time the truth came out, many who used them daily were already sick. Asbestos was once hailed as the perfect material for modern living. It ended up becoming one of history's most infamous killers. Those oven mitts, sold with warmth and trust, literally took people's breath away. Finally, there were the tamarindo lollipops from Mexico, sweet, sour, and dusted with chili powder. Kids loved them for their bold flavor, something that made American candies seem plain by comparison. They were a favorite at corner stores and fiestas alike, a little piece of imported joy. But beneath that spicy coating lurked something deadly. When the news broke about the lead contamination, it spread through communities like heartbreak. Parents who had grown up eating them now had to take them away from their own children, turning joy into fear. Investigations revealed that some batches were contaminated with lead, not just in the candy itself, but in the packaging and ink used on wrappers. The ban came swiftly, and shipments stopped overnight. Families who had grown up with those treats felt an unexpected sense of loss. What was once a taste of culture and childhood became a cautionary tale about oversight and safety. Yet for many, that flavor, the heat, the tang, the sweetness, still carries memories of home. It is strange how something that once united so many people could be forbidden so suddenly. But maybe that is what nostalgia is all about, remembering what we loved even when we were not supposed to. Mercury glass thermometers were something almost every grandparent kept tucked away in a kitchen drawer or medicine cabinet, sitting there like a tiny silver secret no one ever questioned. Back then, seeing that bright metallic line move up and down felt like watching real science happen right in your own home, and nobody knew that this simple tool carried a danger far larger than its size. People trusted these thermometers because they were reliable, they were familiar, and they were passed down through generations. What folks never realized was that one slip, one crack, or one drop on the bathroom floor could release a toxic metal that never goes away. Mercury did not just evaporate harmlessly. It lingered, it pooled, and it seeped into tiny corners nobody noticed. Doctors later discovered how dangerous even small exposures were, and suddenly something that once helped families monitor their health became a serious household hazard. There is something unsettling about realizing that a tool used to protect your family once carried such a hidden threat. Formaldehyde-laced milk sounds like something out of a nightmare, but in the early 1950s it was a reality for some families. When refrigeration was expensive and spoilage high, certain dairy producers found a shortcut. Add a touch of formaldehyde, a preservative used for embalming. It kept the milk fresh longer, even in the heat. To the average shopper, this was the golden age of trust. If it came in a bottle with a farm logo, it had to be safe. The idea that something so pure-looking could be chemically tampered with was unthinkable. But greed and convenience always find their way into progress, especially when no one is watching. Consumers never suspected a thing, trusting the white liquid poured into their children's cereal bowls. For years, families drank what they believed was the purest symbol of health, completely unaware of the chemical lurking within. It took illness, lawsuits, and stricter inspections to expose the practice. Once the scandal broke, public trust in the dairy industry took a hit that lasted decades. The lesson was clear: Not everything that looks wholesome is. Sometimes the most dangerous things are the ones that seem the most natural. Paraformaldehyde closet deodorizers were once the hidden secret to keeping a home smelling fresh, tucked into closets and drawers like quiet guardians of cleanliness. Grandparents hung them beside winter coats, wool sweaters, and blankets, trusting that these little blocks would keep everything smelling crisp and free of musty odors. People believed they were doing something good for their clothes, protecting them from moisture and mildew during long storage seasons. But paraformaldehyde did not just freshen the air. It released fumes that were irritating to the eyes and lungs, creating an invisible cloud inside small enclosed spaces. Every time someone opened the closet door, they breathed in vapors known to cause headaches, coughing, and long-term respiratory issues. These deodorizers were eventually banned, and families were urged to switch to safer alternatives. Today, these closet blocks serve as a reminder that a pleasant scent is not always a sign of safety. Orbitz was the drink that looked more like a science experiment than a thirst quencher. In the late 1990s, kids would stop in the grocery store aisle just to stare at the bottles, bright liquids with tiny gelatin spheres suspended inside, floating like little planets in a lava lamp. It was supposed to be futuristic, a drink you could both sip and watch. The first sip was strange, a mix of sweet syrup and jelly-like orbs drifting on your tongue. For some, it was a revelation. For others, pure confusion. But no one could deny that it was unlike anything else on Earth. People were fascinated, but they were also confused. The texture was unlike anything they had ever felt. Too thick to gulp, too thin to chew. The Food and Drug Administration soon stepped in, failing the product's stability tests because the suspended beads did not stay evenly distributed over time. Bottles leaked, clumps formed, and the novelty turned into a sticky mess. Within 2 years, Orbitz disappeared from shelves, remembered more for its weirdness than its taste. But for those who tried it, the memory still feels strangely magical. A moment when food and science collided in the most bizarre way imaginable. It might not have lasted long, but it showed how curiosity could make something as simple as a drink feel like a glimpse into the future. Raw milk was once the pride of the American farm, bottled straight from the source and sold in glass jars. People swore it tasted better, richer, creamier, and somehow more real. In the 1950s, it was still common to see it on grocery shelves, untouched by modern processing. But beneath the nostalgia was danger. Without pasteurization, raw milk carried bacteria that caused tuberculosis, salmonella, and other deadly diseases. Rural families, especially in dairy states, considered pasteurization unnecessary city talk. They trusted their cows, their neighbors, and the land itself. Unfortunately, nature is not as kind as nostalgia remembers. It hides danger even in the things we love most. Families believed they were drinking nature's perfect food, not knowing that it sometimes carried the very thing that made them sick. Eventually, stricter food laws swept across the country, forcing dairies to heat-treat every drop before it hit the store. Raw milk became illegal in most states, a symbol of both freedom lost and safety gained. To some, it was government overreach. To others, it was salvation. Either way, the days of milk straight from the cow were gone for good. Dichlorvos pest strips, also called no-pest strips, hung in kitchens, bedrooms, basements, and even nurseries, sold as a hands-free way to keep insects away without sprays or traps. People loved how easy they were. Just hang a strip, forget about it, and let it silently do its work for weeks at a time. Grandparents trusted these bright yellow strips like invisible shields, believing they made their homes cleaner and safer. But that same vapor did not stop at insects. It drifted through the air into every breath people took, carrying a chemical that affected the nervous system. Children, pets, and older adults absorbed it the most, often without any symptoms until the damage had already begun. Once regulators understood how dangerous constant exposure was, especially in enclosed rooms, they banned the strips from household use. Looking back, it feels unsettling to realize how easily something labeled as safe could have such hidden consequences. There was a time when everyone carried Certs mints in their pockets, little silver rolls promising 2 mints in 1. What made them special was the ingredient called retsin, a shiny green fleck that was advertised as a miracle compound for fresh breath. It was supposed to neutralize odors better than anything else on the market. People believed in it like magic, tiny specks of freshness that could erase the smell of coffee or a nervous lunch before a date. It was small but mighty, a sign that you cared about how you presented yourself to the world. Even the way the foil unwrapped had a familiar sound, like the opening note of confidence itself. For decades, Certs were part of American life, sold at gas stations, kept in car consoles, shared before job interviews or first dates. But when the Food and Drug Administration re-examined retsin, it found that the blend of copper gluconate and hydrogenated oil was not as safe or effective as claimed. The ruling forced the end of production, and one of America's simplest pleasures disappeared overnight. Today, the word Certs barely rings a bell, but for many, that minty crunch lives on in memory. It was never just about breath. It was about confidence, a tiny piece of everyday ritual that quietly vanished from the grocery aisle. Metal-sheathed extension cords without insulation were once tossed into utility drawers and garages as casually as any other tool, used for lamps, radios, or holiday lights. These cords looked tough and reliable, wrapped in metal that seemed far sturdier than simple plastic coating. Grandparents trusted them because they felt durable, heat-resistant, and capable of lasting a lifetime. But inside that metal sheath was wiring with almost no protection from wear, moisture, or accidental bends. If the cord kinked or cracked, the metal exterior could carry live current straight into a person's hand. Shocks were common, and some were severe enough to send people to the hospital. House fires also started when sparks jumped from exposed wiring onto carpets or wooden floors. Once regulators understood the risks, insulated cords became mandatory, and the older versions were banned from sale. Today, it is astonishing to think that something as ordinary as an extension cord once posed such a serious electrical hazard. Cottage cheese with rennet from calf stomach was once a wholesome staple that carried a darker story. Back in the 1950s, no one questioned where their food came from or what went into it. The process sounded simple enough. Curdle milk, strain it, and add rennet to thicken the texture. But rennet wasn't just an ingredient. It came from the inner lining of a young calf's stomach, an enzyme extracted during slaughter. To most consumers, it was invisible, an unseen part of the dairy world. For decades, people spooned cottage cheese onto fruit, salads, and toast without realizing the cost behind its creamy texture. When animal rights movements gained traction in the 1970s, rennet production came under fire. It wasn't just the ethics, it was also the contamination risks. Using animal tissue carried the danger of bacteria and disease, especially before stricter processing standards existed. Eventually, scientists developed microbial and plant-based alternatives, and the old method faded quietly into history. Modern cottage cheese tastes the same, but it no longer carries that hidden story of sacrifice. For anyone who remembers the real thing, there's a bittersweet truth in knowing that the innocent foods of the past were often anything but. Before there was a health craze about energy drinks, there were sodas laced with brominated vegetable oil, better known as BVO. Found in citrus favorites like Mountain Dew and Sundrop, it was used to keep the flavor evenly mixed. For decades, nobody questioned it. Kids chugged neon green sodas at arcades, parents packed them into lunchboxes, and commercials promised unstoppable energy. It was the soda of summer vacations, backyard barbecues, and glowing green tongues. People had no idea that the same ingredient keeping the citrus oil afloat was slowly building up in their bodies over time. Then scientists revealed that bromine, one of the elements in BVO, could build up in the human body and cause serious health problems. Suddenly, the familiar fizz turned into fear. The Food and Drug Administration banned its use, forcing companies to change their recipes. But for people who grew up in the 80s and 90s, that old taste still lingers in memory. It was sharp, tangy, and just a bit radioactive in color, like drinking liquid lightning from a bottle. It was the flavor of youth, risk, and everything that felt a little too extreme for its own good. Pressure cookers without safety valves were once found in nearly every grandparent's kitchen, sitting on stovetops like sturdy metal workhorses ready to tackle any meal. These early models built pressure quickly, helping families cook stews, beans, and soups in a fraction of the usual time. Back then, efficiency was everything, and these cookers felt like the future of fast home cooking. People trusted them wholeheartedly, believing their heavy lids and thick walls made them fail-proof. But without proper safety valves, internal pressure had nowhere to escape when temperatures got too high. That built-up steam turned the cooker into a ticking bomb, capable of launching lids across kitchens or sending boiling food erupting in every direction. Stories of exploding pots became alarmingly common, with many home cooks experiencing burns or shattered kitchen walls. When regulators finally stepped in, they began enforcing strict safety standards that required multiple release mechanisms. Modern pressure cookers are far safer, but those older models left a legacy of caution in many households. Grandparents who lived through these accidents often share their stories with a mix of humor and relief, but the danger was real and unforgettable. Today, it is difficult to imagine using a pot that could explode without warning, yet it was once a routine part of home cooking. These early cookers serve as a reminder that progress sometimes comes with painful lessons. Hormone-injected super chickens were the pride of post-war America, a marvel of modern science that promised endless meat at low prices. Farmers injected birds with growth hormones to make them plumper and faster growing, cutting costs and feeding more people. Grocery stores proudly advertised bigger, better poultry that could roast in record time. The sight of a massive bird on the dinner table became a badge of success, a symbol that science and progress had conquered hunger. No one questioned why their chicken breasts had doubled in size or why the meat seemed strangely watery when cooked. They were too busy marveling at the miracle of abundance to see the price of tampering with nature. But what looked like progress soon sparked fear. Consumers began to wonder why their chickens looked unnaturally large and cooked down to almost nothing. Reports of hormone imbalances and health risks spread, and regulators stepped in. By the late 1950s, the practice was outlawed, leaving behind a trail of headlines and suspicion. The super chicken promised abundance but delivered anxiety instead. It became another cautionary tale of a century obsessed with faster, cheaper, and bigger, no matter the cost. The early 2000s gave us something truly wild, Original Four Loko. It was the drink that seemed like it broke every rule in the book. Half energy drink, half malt liquor, it was nicknamed Blackout in a Can for a reason. College parties, music festivals, and weekend get-togethers suddenly had a new mascot, bright colors, loud designs, and an even louder buzz. People loved it because it made them feel invincible, awake enough to party all night, and numb enough to forget how much they drank. There was danger in every sip, but that danger was the appeal, the spark that turned an ordinary night into a story you could barely remember. The caffeine kept you awake while the alcohol made sure you forgot what happened next. Hospitals started seeing spikes in alcohol poisoning, and lawmakers took notice. By the end of 2010, the government banned its original formula nationwide. The drink was reformulated without caffeine, but the legend of Four Loko was already sealed in pop culture. For many, it represented a time when excess was celebrated, when danger itself was part of the thrill. Today, people look back on it with a mix of disbelief and nostalgia, because nothing says youth like drinking something that probably should have been illegal from the start. Asbestos oven mitts and ironing board covers were once the gold standard of fire safety in the home, proudly advertised as the toughest, most heat-proof materials you could possibly buy. Your grandparents trusted them without hesitation, slipping their hands into those thick mitts and leaning over hot pans without a single worry in the world. Stores marketed asbestos like a miracle material, something so advanced and reliable that every home needed it. But every squeeze, every fold, and every scrape released microscopic fibers that floated into the air like invisible dust. These fibers did not break down, did not wash away, and did not leave your lungs once you inhaled them. By the time scientists uncovered the truth, asbestos had already found its way into ironing boards, mitts, potholders, and countless other household items. Families were shocked to learn that the thing protecting their hands from burns was quietly harming them in a far more permanent way. Those mitts tell a story of trust, convenience, and a danger nobody saw coming. Before you go, tell us in the comments which banned beauty product shocked you most. Tap like if this walk through forgotten dangers hit home, and subscribe so you never miss the next deep dive into the products we once trusted.